just so everybody knows, we are now being recorded. And
By the way, Holly, if I skip out, it's not anything against you, but I have an appointment. So I'm not sure how long this class lasts.
oh, okay, no problem. I'm trying to keep it right at an hour.
Okay.
So we'll see. I mean, that's my goal anyway, to kind of finish right
Okay.
up at noon.
Then I should be okay.
Okay, good. So anyway, I heard this little tidbit the other day, and it was in a training, and the training was, hold on, I'll shut the door. We're both working from home.
Is that good?
Both working from home. Anyway, so I was on this training call, and the guy says, okay, what's everybody's biggest challenge? So of course, we know everyone's gonna say, no inventory.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting because he said, okay, that's not a business challenge, that's a market condition. And I was like, ooh. And it kind of made me think back to how when we first started teaching all this momentum stuff, David Scott used to say, market conditions should never dictate your income. Like that's the goal to get to, is that if it's really great, you're doing great. And if market conditions change one way or another, from a buyer's market to a seller's market to whatever, if you are running on all four cylinders all the time, it's not going to matter. And it's kind of interesting how that played out, because last year, some people shut way down and, didn't do anything. And then I've had a lot of my friends are like, I had the best year I've ever had. Like, so I think it's, what are we doing day in, day out consistently, and sometimes you'll have different things, but I just thought it was interesting where he said, nope, that's not really a problem. There's still listings. You just don't have them.
It's all right. It's right between your ears.
So true. So what I like about this is conversion quarter. There's a lot of good nuggets in here that kind of it's little shifts that you can make in your conversations with sellers. So I think we've all been through this a couple of times. I took out a bunch of slides because I really just wanted to focus in on some of these little core changes that I think are going to help us really become, it's like when competition comes in the market, competition's either going to make you get better or make you go away. And those, those are your two choices. So we just need to constantly think about improving. So there's a couple of things, couple of review things. So the plan is always to do our lead generating, to find new business, repeat business, and referral. And every piece of business that comes into you should be tagged. New, referral, repeat. New, referral, repeat. I'd like to talk to agents and say, hey, last year, how many new pieces of business did you get? That you just generated, it wasn't from a referral. It was your own marketing skills. How many repeats? And then how many referrals? And I think it's important because when we go through our business, the source tracker once a month and put down how many listings did we close last month, how many buyers, and then we put to the right of that where that business came from, that shines a light on what we're doing good and what we may be investing in that's not giving us a return. And it's going to expose those cracks, if you will, in our lead generation. So we want to get better. If we put down at source and at the first of every month, you should be looking at, okay, who did I close last month? Where did it come from? Was it, that's going to really help you get better and go deeper with what is working, and then improve what isn't working. Or it may have you save money that you've been spending on something that you haven't even gotten a return on it. So that is one of the single best tools I think I've given people, is that just business source tracker. And you just list out your listings in the first of every month, you write it down, you look at it. You want like an accountability partner to be like, hey, look what I did. I got this many. But that is the single most useful tool, I think, because it also shows like, okay, I kind of took it easy in January and February, and it showed. Well, if you didn't have much in January and February, you really took it easy in October, November, and December, because it takes about 30 to 60 days to kind of get our return. So try this year to start really being conscientious and think about hey, that was from my marketing, that worked. Or, geez, I spent $450 on a mailing and I didn't get anything. Like, do I have the right message? Do I need to make an adjustment? Or, maybe I had just abandoned that strategy because look at how many referrals I got. So it really helps you trying to get.
Oh, sorry.
But
Do you know, like, I typically send out a postcard when we list and when we sell. I haven't gotten anything on any of that. So what's your opinion on those? Is it a waste of money?
well,
No.
yeah,
No? Okay.
I like them. I like 4 postcards, not 2, and
Okay.
I'd have to see your message. So if you want to send me your message, does it have a compelling offer? Is it telling a story? What's the length of time that you send them out? We really like to try to stretch the 4 postcards, even if you have to bring down the number to stay within your budget.
Mhm.
We want to try and stay in that neighborhood between 4 and 6 months. Because when you put a house on the market, 5 to 7 other people are going to sell, but in the next 3 to 7 months.
Okay.
So we need to kind of have some staying power, and the message has to be good. You have to have a good call to action, call to conversation. You have to be offering something. We also add, like, at the bottom of our postcards, to be continued. So they're like, oh, okay, what's coming next? What are we going to find out? And we tell
So
a
which
story.
ones do you do? Just listed, obviously sold.
Yeah, so we do like, what'd your neighbor do last night? So that's the first one, instead of saying just listed. We've also changed our verbiage. Then when it goes under contract, we say we're getting results. So now they know, hey, we had a problem. Oh, we know how to solve the problem. We got offers. Then when it's closed, we do a go and go and gone. And then 40 to 50 days later, we do a your home may be in demand. And then we're like, hey, we recently sold a home. Our marketing generated lots of qualified buyers, but we only had 1 property to sell. We're looking for more homeowners that are thinking of moving because this community is in great demand.
Okay.
And then and I'll send you I have a little, a Word doc that's got all the verbiage on it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So
That would be great, Holly, because I'm just doing the 2, but I would like to add those other 2. But
Mhm.
you know what I don't like is guess what your neighbor did last night? Because by the time we order the cards and they get mailed, it's a week later.
Yeah, it is like, if you know, what you can do is just say, guess who's on the market now?
Okay.
Like, just try not to say, like, just listed. Like, we gotta, like, not do stuff that's, like, really old school.
The same old.
Yeah, we kind of need to just change I'd rather see for sale.
Or you could just say, guess what your neighbor
Guess
did.
what your neighbor did. Or
Yeah.
guess what your neighbor's doing.
Yeah.
Your neighbor's moving.
Yeah, your neighbor's moving. Are you not?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would love to see the verbiage on that, and I might
Me
need
too.
with a couple more of those.
Yeah,
Especially
I'll send those
the
right
one that's
after.
like 4 to 6 weeks after.
Yeah, the one that your neighborhood's in demand. The cool thing with that one is we also say in that verbiage, if you would like to stay informed when homes go on the market or sell in your community, just let us know. And that way you can put them on, a saved search to be
Right.
notified. And that way you get that connection, you get their email, and now you're off to the races with them. So
Okay.
that's kind of the goal in that. So again, this is just going to talk about moving from consistent to efficient to proficient. And this just talks about being an effective lead conversion person. So if you just had 1 appointment a week and you were just consistent at, like, come heck or high water, I'm going to get 1 appointment a week, or maybe 1 every 2 weeks, whatever. You'll notice, like, in the beginning, only 70% are going to show up and not cancel. So that would be 32 meetings a year. And in the beginning, when you're just consistent and you're not good yet, I mean, Charlotte, you're already to the proficient stage. So your levels are already going to be higher because it's not year 1, year 2. It's just how quickly you get good at doing this. So this is just showing, like, if I'm brand new and I don't even know what I'm doing or what to say, I'm going to convert probably 50% of the appointments I go on. So your first year is still 16 listings. And in this market, you probably would sell every darn one of them. Could be 16 deals in the first year.
Yeah.
And then you notice you're still only working 45 weeks each year, but your appointments start to go up because your systems get better. And you talk better and you convert better and you build rapport better. And then people keep the appointments, and you'll notice that the show up rate when you get real proficient goes to 90%. And then here you are with 3 appointments a week, closing 104 deals a year. Like, it's all there. It's just how much, you want to, what effort you want to put forth. So anybody can do it. It's just, what is your level of commitment? What's your desire? And then what are your goals? And so you kind of figure it out. But it is good to know that there is a plan and there is a path that anybody can follow. It just depends on having those systems to really work it. So as with all the momentum stuff, there's stuff you need to know, do, and have. And most of the listing conversation and the conversion is in dialogues. It's what you say. It's in how you communicate. What's the connection that you make with people? So many times I'll even hear people go, I didn't really even know much, but we just hit it off. Like, and you hear that over and over again. It's so much your personality that really becomes such a big driver, especially if you're working a relationship based.
Yeah, I agree.
Huh? Don't you think, Charlotte? I mean,
Oh, I agree totally. Yeah.
it's really, and that's why when I look at like skill sets, so much of it is that conversion. You can't outsource the conversion piece. In a way, you could pay someone to make calls and try to get leads converted and appointments set. But we know that the highest and best use of our time is being in front of the customer, the client.
Yeah.
And that's where we've got to be good. So having like just a quick attitude check. I mean, these are core beliefs, and David Scott always likes to kind of convert these. And, it's just kind of that mindset that you have in looking at listings, and that we live in a world of abundance, and we need to have processes that we can duplicate over and over again to get better. It's unacceptable to leave money on the seller's table. We know that homes sell for 2 reasons, price and exposure. Like, we know that. And it's really just formulating our service around these core beliefs. And some of them you may have, and some of them you're like, well, that's not one of my core beliefs. These are just ideas on the listing side of good beliefs for you to have. So he always likes to include this, and I'll make sure that the slide deck goes out. When we go into our listing responsibilities, you got to work off of a checklist. And it really breaks it down into 7 areas. So we have lead generation. What are the activities that you do to generate your seller leads? And then how do you attract that person in the conversation? In that conversion process, what's the attraction? How is that rapport building and the follow through, and what does the actual appointment look like? And then a lot of this is stuff that you need to outsource and give to somebody else. The admin prep and marketing and exposure, like a lot of the stuff you can check a box on the listing sheet, and we do it. That you want the seller to have home warranty protection. It's free. It's over and above what other agents do. Check the box. You want your listings to be put on social media for you? You check the box. Like, we're trying to take these tasks off your hand so that you can go and be in front of more clients. I love the example that Jared James does. He's like, we feel like, oh, I have to be the one that talks to my client. It's all me. It's me and me. And they say, now think about that if it was a doctor. The doctor calls you to set your appointment. And then when you get there, they greet you and give you your paperwork to fill out. Then the doctor comes and takes you to the first waiting area and takes your temperature and does your weight. And then they move you to the next waiting area, which really isn't a waiting area. It's just another area for you to sit. And then the doctor comes in and asks you all those questions. I mean, if the doctor did every task, you'd be like, dude, can't you hire a temp to answer the phones? Like, it would be embarrassing. How many would want to use that doctor? Nobody. And we're the same thing. Like, you should form a team. And when I say a team, I mean the support staff at RE/MAX Center. Anything that is on your checklist that can be delegated, You need to delegate it, and you need to present that as a unified front to your client. Hey, yep, we got that covered. We're gonna make sure we got that covered. Yep, I got my support staff's gonna take care of that. Denise is gonna be doing that, or whoever. Like, that's what they want. They want you there for the big nuts and bolts, not to create a flyer. I mean, that's not what they are. They want you for the big ticket items. And that's what you're really good at. So that's why starting with a checklist is so important, because then we can see what can we divvy out. That's definitely going to get done, but not necessarily by you. You know, I did it. I mean, I was a task. I loved all the tasks because I felt like I was good at them, and I liked that. I realized that about me, is that I was heavy on the tasks, but that really wasn't the great value that I was bringing to the client. I thought it was for a long time, but slowly started to realize as I got better, like, oh yeah, that's not really the big important stuff. That's the goofy stuff. That's the $15 an hour stuff, not the $200 an hour stuff. So again, figure out your lead generation strategy. And this is all, we're going to kind of focus in the meat of this conversion piece. The pre-listing questions, the pricing tools, confirming the appointment, preparing the listing agreement, getting on the listing channel, arriving on time, and then the conversation. So there's some nuggets in here that I really like when we focus on the listing conversion. And it's really in that conversation piece, how you can sound so different, and really elevate the experience that your clients go through. These are all things that we should get into a habit of. Pre-listing questions are so important. One that I really like that Lee Brown, I heard from her, was, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm really looking forward to coming out. And even if it's a past client, hey, Joe, you know, you've been in the house for 6 years. That's awesome. So you've been in there for a while, and I know you said you were going to do this, this, and this. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think your house rates, with 10 being like a new construction home? So all the systems are new, you've replaced them, smells great, you got all the great bells and whistles that everybody wants. And a 1 being, well, I moved in 6 years ago and I hadn't done a darn thing. I got a couple of broken windows. I know that I need a few maintenance things to be done, and don't use number 7. So 1 to 10, 10 being brand new, 1 being I've been neglectful, don't use 7, where do you sit? And most people are going to say they're like a 6. Maybe they're an 8. Maybe they're almost new. But when you give them that range and then examples to go from, because if you just say on a 1 to 10, how's your house? Oh, I'm a 10. If they don't have a frame of reference, they're always going to have the best house on the planet. Yeah, worth the most. My house is worth the most.
Then they're going to turn around and ask you, well, what do you think my house rates?
Yeah.
They're going to say, it's a 4.
I hate that you asked me that. And so if you ask them ahead of time, it's kind of good, because then when you get there, you can say, well, I can't wait to see what I think it is. If you think it's an 8, let's see if I think it's an 8 when I get there. But it kind of gives them that, especially if you don't know the people, you know, that's kind of a good thing to do. And then if they say an 8, say, well, what would make it a 10? What are you missing? Well, the systems are like 12 years old, but they work. You know, my HVAC works. It's just the original one. Like, oh, okay, that's good to know. So you keep it positive, but it kind of starts prepping them for, maybe my home isn't like a brand new house with all the upgrades and bells and whistles. So the pre-listing questions are great. That's when you can also figure out what they owe on their mortgage ahead of time, so that you can start working on a net sheet. And you're kind of taking out that guesswork of putting them on the spot. It gives them time to kind of put some stuff together. Yes, we have an HOA. Yes, I have a termite bond on it. I owe 170, whatever. So you try to get as much of that information and make it easy.
Is there a list of those anywhere?
Huh?
Are there a list of like those pre-listing questions anywhere?
Yeah, and I'll send you, there's also this new form creator that I really like. I'll have to look it up. I saved it. And you can send it electronically and it's really easy. Like the question pops up, like, what do you owe on your mortgage? And then,
Oh.
have like the dollar and they just put it in and then next, next, next. And so it's real simple for them to fill it out. So I really encourage using that, and I'll pull out, I don't remember the name of that form creator, but it's free. And I'm like, ooh, this is my new one because I've used Jot Form and I've used Survey Monkey and all this. I really like this new one. It looks good and it's easy. And, yeah, but I'll send you the questions too.
Okay.
I would keep those questions real simple, and just to get the simple things that they can probably do without too much research. Later, you can give them the one where it's like, who are your utility company, all that stuff. But if you do too much in the beginning, then they're like, I don't even feel like doing it. If you
Yeah.
give just enough, they'll do it. So we're going to kind of hone in a little bit on some of these things on number 8 as well. This is the rest of the vital activities checklist. Now, we've gone through these checklists several times. I encourage you to, and I'll send them just as a Word doc, where you can just kind of print it out and say, yep, I do that. Yep, I do that. No, I don't want to do that. Cross it off, or add in additional items that you already do for your listings. So I would, and I know Carol's putting together hers, and we're going to go through it Friday on everything she wants to do for a listing. And that way we can have that base to go from. That's how you give a higher quality experience for your clients. And we get into routines where we do the same thing over and over again. Sometimes it's good to throw it out and start over, because there's new technologies. There's new services that you could be providing. You could be adding in little snippets of video for your clients. We need to freshen it up sometimes. Sometimes, oh, well, it's working and it's good, but is it old fashioned? Is it going to get you more referrals? Are people going to be like, oh, well, no, she's not using video, but everybody else is? Like, sometimes we just need to add in 1 or 2 new things that can be really powerful for your client's experience. So this is just the rest of the checklist. It's 47 items. The marketing exposure, we're going to go through a little bit different than that, to make sure that we price it right, we expose it, and the exposure isn't just to sell the home. A lot of the exposure is for you to get 3 more pieces of business. We've got to be leveraging. That's why they say you list to last. A lot of times it's you list to get more business, because it's really hard to leverage a buyer. You can. And I don't see agents leveraging their buyers enough, because if you are part of the sale in a neighborhood, it's just like having the listing. You sold the house. So you can be doing the buyer postcards for any house that you sell, whether you're the listing agent or the buyer's agent. So I see a lot of people only market their listings, whereas if you brought the buyer, you sold the house. You need to be doing the same kind of marketing. That's how you can leverage your buyers more. Of course, you're going to try to get referrals too. So you can go through all these 47 activities, see what you do. It's not all inclusive. David Scott did the starting of this. And of course, we've crossed it. Some people are door knocking now, so make it your own. I have it in a Word doc, so you can just delete. I don't want to do that, but I do this. I already do that. And your list might be 58 things. It might be 30 things. It might be 100 things. I have a list of 184 things that realtors do for their clients. You can look at that list and say, oh, I don't do that. I should do that. I mean, we do a lot of stuff for our clients. I mean, that list of 184 things, I went through it. I'm like, yeah, we do all that. Wow. We do a lot of stuff. We don't even realize it. So we want to make sure that when we're talking to our clients, we're gaining that agreement. So really what today is looking at this approach. We want to have a meeting where we're establishing a win-win relationship. It's definitely a relationship-based approach. This is not like a Mark Spain transaction-based, turn them, churn them, who's next, burn them. Like, this is definitely about going deep with your clients on a very, very professional relationship-based relationship. And so we have a win-win relationship. We're going to talk about some nuggets that you can say in the meeting. Lori has done the 7-step pricing strategy. I've taught it several times in the past. I have that videotaped. So if you want to refresh on the 7-step pricing strategy, I can send that video and you can kind of watch it again. But it's pretty powerful. And so we're going to justify that appropriate price, and it's about justification. So we're going to talk about justification with our clients. Then we're going to talk about our marketing exposure plan, which is actually 15 points. We have a 15-point exposure plan. We're going to ask for feedback and holding the plan accountable. And then we're going to talk about maximizing the net sales price, inspections, and then closing. So it's kind of, that's your approach, is taking them through this whole little, really this whole system over and over and over again, taking them through how you run your business. A cool thing that I really encourage you all to track, and you know, Charlotte, you've been in business for a long time, and Carol and Robin, you're coming up on what, year 3, 4?
3.
Yeah. So it's really great to track some indicators of success, and you can use these in your marketing or you can utilize them in your conversations. So that is the % of your listings that sell. I mean, if you haven't had anything withdraw or expire, then you can, that should be the thing. 100% of the listings I take sell. Like, that's a little tiny nugget that so many people never even talk about. But that's what I want to know. Now, my 100% may be 4 listings, but 100% of them sold. I didn't say how many. So you could use it, you know, for all things. Another thing that's really powerful, and it changes with the market, and it's just the market conditions, is number 2, sales price to list price ratio. And that is so important, especially when you're working with buyers. In markets like this, don't tell, show. So whenever I can pull stats and show them, I did this with Karina. She's working up to 250. They want to come in, a house is listed at 250, they want to come in at 220. Like, they're not going to get it. Telling the same thing over and over again. I'm like, you got to show. So you go to Houston or whatever areas, you pull up the sales for the last 6 months. There it is. It's going to tell you right on the quick CMA. So I would have this, and then you have it for yours. Say in the last 12 months right now, most of my homes selling 99, 102, whatever that percentage is right now. Average days to offer. It's really good to track this one. I actually like at number of showings to get an offer, because I think that one's a little more powerful. I used to, back when I was selling actively, average days on market was like 131. Ooh, it was painful. And it was between 10 and 12 showings would typically produce an offer. Like that was our expectation. And you know, it was great because the first person would go in and show the house, and then the seller's like, are we getting an offer? Are we getting an offer? And if we didn't, I'd be like, nope, we got 9 more to go till we're probably going to get an offer. And then they were like, oh, okay. Then like 2 or 3. And then if we got an offer at like the 3rd one, they thought like, oh my God, that was the best thing forever, you know? So really think about using these kind of stats. You can also look in showing time too and get some stats off of showing time. Average days to close. And then of course, if you're doing your customer surveys, incorporate those. You should have at least 4 or 5 testimonials printed to bring on all appointments. And that should be a leave behind, I think. Testimonials should be a leave behind. Our Remax versus the industry, 100%, that needs to be a leave behind. So these are really important things to kind of start looking at. These are my indicators of success. So really good things to work on. Big thing about the seller conversion is moving from presentation mode to conversation mode. We're not going on presentations. We don't even say that word anymore. We're just going and having conversations with people to see if a win-win relationship can be developed and we get them to reach their goals. So we definitely want it just to be listing conversations. We need to meet and have a conversation to see if a win-win working relationship can be created. It's a partnership. You're working together, not against each other. That's why I always get nervous when people take listings and they don't agree on the price. You know, when an agent doesn't agree on the price, but they take it anyway, it's kind of an unhealthy dynamic has been created right away. And that's why the 7-step pricing strategy is so powerful, in that the seller self-discovers where they should price the house. And you help them self-discover that range. And so typically there's no overpricing. When you go through the 7-step pricing strategy, they're not going to overprice. Like, it just doesn't happen. And if it does, then they're just completely crazy and you shouldn't be working with them anyway. So having that conversation type is really, really important. So what we want to do is, you know, get out of that scarcity mentality where I have to get the listing because there's limited supply. Even though we feel like inventory is tight right now, every single house that you drive by is an opportunity. Really, I mean, that's why real estate is so great, because look at all our opportunity. Like, the sky's the limit. You have no idea. We didn't know we were going to move this year. It's like every time we've moved, it's been a surprise. I'd love to like have a long-term planned move. It hasn't happened. And there's a lot of people, right? I mean, when we first moved here, it was a surprise. When we moved back to Atlanta, it was a surprise. When we moved back here again, it was a surprise. And this one, while we knew that we were going to move to Florida, we thought it was going to be 5 years, not 5 months. So timeframes change, like, and that's the way I look at it. Every time I drive, this neighborhood probably has 2,000 homes. And I'm always just like, so much opportunity, like right here. I'm sitting in like the middle of tons of opportunity. So that's what we want. We want to find people that want the kind of service that we provide. So getting the listing is only half the equation, right? We have to sell it in order for this relationship to be considered a success. So we don't want an inventory full of listings that don't sell. We want an abundance of inventory that is healthy and profitable, and that's going to meet those sellers' needs. It's relationship based. So it's totally, everyone here pretty much works by referral and really wants to build those relationships. So this mode of conversation really lines up well with the relationship-based selling. And it's broken into these little areas. We have our pre-conversation activities. So we're going to ask those listing questions. You know, what do you owe on it? What are your taxes? Do you have the termite? Do you have a termite bond in effect? Do you have a home warranty? Did you ever utilize a home warranty? Is it in an HOA? I'll give you all those things that you can get asked. Then you're going to do the pricing module. Now, if you're not using the 7-step pricing strategy, whatever your pricing model looks like, are you using Cloud CMA? Are you just using Matrix? Like, what are you all using? Charlotte, are you doing 7-step pricing strategy or like stuff through Matrix?
I haven't mastered that yet, unfortunately.
It takes a while.
It does, and I struggle with it all the time. But I don't know. It just seems like the last year I really haven't needed to.
Yeah.
You know, you price a home and it's gone. So I think I've gotten really lax with those activities too, just because of the nature of our market. So that's one reason I'm trying to do some refresher stuff, because our market's always changing and it's not going to stay this way forever. And I really do get kind of lazy with my normal things when the market's easy.
Yeah.
But when it moves so quickly.
It's normal for us to do
I
that.
think you have to spend as much time on those things with people, and you know. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even if we just took like an extra 2 or 3 minutes, because you know what we could get caught in that could happen. And I remember this happening. I'm trying to remember if it was when the bottom fell out last time. But it's like we were all operating under these certain things, and then all of a sudden, like we have clients and it didn't follow what we thought. Like at some
Right.
point, we're gonna get listings and they're gonna start sitting.
Yeah.
And they're gonna start not appraising. And then we're gonna be like, uh-oh. So I think too, like maybe spending a little bit of extra time and talking about the fluidity of the market and looking at those absorption rates and seeing, are they starting to nudge up? Are we starting to get a little more inventory? Like, so I think more than ever now is probably a good time to spend a little extra time in this area to make sure that the trends are actually still continuing on what we think they're continuing and not something else. Because I wouldn't want to get caught like, oh my God, like 2 weeks ago, the market was fast as can be. And now what happened? Then your seller is going to be like, hey, what happened? I thought this was a fast market. So
Yeah.
I think if we're going to come across that corner, then we're probably going to have to spend a little bit of extra time on our pricing tools. Confirming.
I agree.
Yeah. And confirming the appointment. I think we should do it by video. I think you should send a quick video to confirm your appointments rather than sending an email or calling. I think a video is a great way to bring in video with a small little easy confirmation of an appointment with video, just especially if like video is not your normal thing. You're not like always doing video. That would be an easy thing to kind of implement into your conversion. Always have your listing agreement already filled out, ready to go, except for the price and the dates, right? We're going with an expectation that they're going to sign. And there's a little bit of a momentum close in here that even if they don't sign then, we're already going to be prepared to leave it in case they wake up in the middle of the night and say, yes, we've got to use Holly. We should have gotten that paperwork, right? You always want to do that with offers too. Like that was another nugget that I got from Momentum originally, was when you're working with a buyer. If they say, no, we want to think about it, fill out the contract anyway. Have it all done, ready to go, put it in their inbox and say, listen, I've already gone through it. I put it together. You don't have to sign it, but if for some reason we don't want to have to go to the drawing board tomorrow morning, if there's going to be competition, you'll have the ability to just sign it if you wake up in the middle of the night and say, that's the one, we should have done it. So always kind of give them the stuff, even if they say they're not ready. It's a really powerful thing for you to leave it on their, leave it in their court. Get on the listing channel just means free your mind of everything else and get prepared to really listen, make eye contact, be present. Don't be thinking about an appraisal or an inspection or something else. Really go in and arrive on time and have that expectation of dialing in with that person and making that relationship. I think we always talk about, oh, it's all about the relationship. We need to make it and keep it all about the relationship. Let's practice what we are preaching. Oh, the iBuyers aren't, people are always going to want, somebody involved. It's always just about the relationship. Well, we just need to follow through on that. Message 1 is about setting the tone. So it's a cool message. And that's just really kind of setting an expectation. Instead of just going in and going right into presentation mode, we're going to kind of slow it down. And we're going to be talking about setting that tone. The next message is about uncovering needs, prioritizing, and talking about the numbers. So goals, plans, and strategies. And it's really important to take the time. I can't remember who I was listening to, but I think it was Simon Sinek. And he was talking about always go for the heart, not the head. And what he means by that is ask questions that reflect how people feel. So things like, what's the most important thing about this move? What would be a real win in getting this move, done for you? Well, timing is really important, or this and that. Like if it's always just about the numbers, that takes people to the head. You want to try to keep it to the heart. What's something that, you're apprehensive about, or that you're nervous about, or when's the last time you sold a house? Get them kind of going back into their feelings, and they'll tell you things that upset them in the past, or things that were frustrating in the past, so you can avoid those. Our goal in the conversion process and in the experience is to minimize the stressors that come with moving and see how can I go above and beyond. And next time you move, I would just write down any pain points. Like, and I moved like 5 times over the last couple of years. So there's things that I'm like, oh, you know, an agent should be doing this, like things that pop up that I'm handling myself, but I look at it as an opportunity that if I had an agent, if they were to do this, it would be a huge win. It would be a huge loyalty factor. And so sometimes when we get desensitized because we're not moving, we're just helping everybody else do it, we kind of forget how stressful this can be. So it's really good to think about those things. Anything that causes pain, is there any little thing that you can do to ease it? Is there anything you can do to eliminate it? Is there anything you can do that would have set an expectation for them? One thing that always pops in my head is when we moved in here, there was a window that needed to be replaced, and we all agreed that they would just give us $1,000. Now, do you think we ever fixed that window? Nope. Now, if my agent, she knew that we did not have it done, wouldn't it have been great if maybe 30 or 45 days, what a great check-in. Hey, do you need someone to get that window fixed? You got the money to do it. You're going to want to have it fixed. You know what I mean? Like that kind of staying involved after the sale. And I always bring that up because I think she should have, because I forgot about it. Really, it was in the basement and we never fixed it. And I think that, like, look for opportunities to stay in tune with what is being said, what is going on. And that's really going to help you in all of this. Message 3, mutual expectations, gain agreement on your roles. Like that's an interesting one that I kind of want to talk about, is your role and my role. And then of course, all of our, if there's any objections or questions that come up after that. So again, this was the pre-listing questions. This one doesn't go into the ones that I was talking about, Robin, so I'll send those separately. And I would encourage you to use that form system that I was talking about. Always confirm the appointment. So a day before, 2 days before, I think it would be awesome to just shoot a quick video. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it's Robin. Just calling to confirm our appointment for Saturday. I'm really looking forward to it. See you at 10 o'clock. If you have any questions, please reach out. Feel free to let me know. It's also an opportunity if you want to send some information ahead of time, like FAQs or the comps that you're going to be reviewing. Maybe you want to send those ahead of time so that they can start kind of digesting. That's a strategy people have used even with the 7-step pricing strategy. So lots of different things you can do, but this is a great way and it's very professional. I mean, how many times do you get notified for your dentist appointment and the doctor appointment? They want to make sure if you're not coming, they know because they want to try to fill that slot, right? But your time is valuable too. So it's always good to confirm. And I think video is a great way to do it. Definitely get into the conversation zone. And again, when you're going through that 7-step pricing strategy, that's when you've walked through the home, you've done all that. Now you sit down and now it's time to talk about price entry point, not even list price. So anything that's in bold in here, and you'll get all the slides, I want you to try to, internalize that price entry point instead of list price. Conversation instead of presentation. Self-discover is the whole crux behind the pricing strategy and listing conversion. You want people to self-discover what it's like to work with you. And it's different, it's better, it's more professional. You got that rapport going, you're confident, you're enthusiastic. You're putting all their needs first. You're really listening, taking good notes. It's so important to take notes when you're with people. One, it makes them feel like they're being heard. And two, it's going to make sure you don't forget anything. And a lot of times it helps you stay in curiosity. So that when they tell you something, you can write it down and say, okay, so you want a quick move. So define quick. You know, sometimes people think 60 days is quick. Some people think 3 minutes is quick. Like, what's your version of quick? So always trying to stay in curiosity is really important. So you're going to engage, deliver messages, and then gain agreement. And I realize when I teach this, I never used to gain agreement with people. I never took that step. So when I say gain agreement, what pops in your head when I say that? Robin, when I say gain agreement, what do you think when I say that?
That you are agreeing with your clients on what you're going to list the house at, what your roles are, what their roles are going to be, and what needs to be done to get the house, ready for listing.
Yeah, it's
That you're all
that
under the same
extra-
understanding.
Yeah, it's that extra little question of, okay, so is there anything else that I can do? Is there anything else that I haven't talked about that you have questions about? So you feel good about this list entry point. You feel good about this 450. You feel good about the number you're going to walk away with. It's just that extra confirmation that gets them to say, yeah, I feel good about that. Yep, everything you showed me looks good. Like sometimes we just go through everything. We don't ask that step. And then they may not be bold enough to say something like, well, what about open houses? You didn't mention open houses. And then they tend to be like, we're going to think about it. So as soon as someone says we're going to think about it, you didn't do your job all the way. There shouldn't be anything to think about, or you should know exactly what it is they're thinking about.
My husband, we have a heating and air company. So when people say that, he's a great salesperson. He was in sales for many, many years. He always says, well, what about this doesn't work for you? When they say, well, let me think about it. He's like, well, tell me what about I've just presented does not work for you. And he puts them on the spot and puts it back in their corner.
Yeah, to figure out there's still some clarity that needs to occur.
Yeah.
And confused people don't take action.
See, and I need to get more confident about that because I'll be like, okay, instead of asking the questions. I don't like confrontation, so I don't like putting people on the spot.
Yeah, and I think, so there's a whole extra thing on objections, like from the point of pricing and marketing, and I'll send you that because you can kind of just flip through those. David Scott's got some really good ones. It's on the listing objections thing. We had fun going through that. It was really eye-opening, and he's got a lot of great ways to get people to self-discover even themselves. Sometimes it's just a feeling and they're not totally sure what it is. That's why leaving the listing agreement, with them, or offering to cancel other appointments. I mean, they have all kinds of different strategies, but it comes down to, is there something I can clear up? Did I not clarify something? I mean, I'm okay, whatever the objection is, let's talk about it. Let's see what it is. And it does take a little bit of time to do that, to get good at that. So what we want to do is I'll show you these dialogues. I'll send them to you on the objection side. You want to make them your own. You want them to be very conversational. You want them to sound like you, not sound like what you're reading off of. And that's why reading them, the biggest trick, the best I've found that works is reading these little paragraphs out loud 50 times. Like you just take 15 minutes and you just repeat it out loud, out loud, out loud. And then after that, all you have to do is you can just start talking about the concept and it'll come out just like you, like your personality, your inflection. And that's really the best way to do it. So like with this win-win, the sentence that is bold, that's the sentence you want to try to at least internalize, like that concept. So when we first did this, we would go around and everybody would take a different paragraph. So, and we would just do it in the classroom. So I was like, first, let me say, I really appreciate you taking time to meet with me. I want you to understand from the very beginning that my goal is to not come in and give you a presentation about what I think you want to hear, but rather to have a conversation to see if a win-win working relationship can be created. So when we read that whole paragraph, when you read that out loud 50 times, and then you close it, and then you say, okay, how am I going to get across that I want to have a win-win working relationship? What you end up saying is going to be, it may be exactly what was here, but typically it's going to be completely different because you're going to know what's natural to you. What I find though is if you never put anything in, then there's nothing to come out. And that's why that act of saying it over and over again. So like for me, I may say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you so much for the opportunity to come out tonight. I'm really excited to work with you. And I really want to have a win-win working relationship where we get your goals satisfied in the least amount of time with the least amount of inconvenience. I'm up for the challenge. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. That's how I talk about win-win. Now, I don't even know what, if I said anything in there, but I wanted to get in win-win working relationship. And then you're going to do the same thing with the agenda. And you're going to take them through these stages. So in order to create a win-win, I must first uncover your needs. How can we help people if we don't even know what people want? We can't. And a lot of times we assume they want the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of inconvenience. Like that is an assumption. Like I could have put my home in Denver on the market and I could have made a lot more money. Like we're talking a lot. It's insane what's going on here. And my friend was like, you're crazy. But that was not our goal. We had a number that we wanted. We were satisfied with that number. And we didn't have to have 90 people traipse through our house in a weekend with 50 offers who 49 people are going to be that is not appealing to me or my husband at all. Right. And people are like, you have so much money on the table. I said, no, I didn't. I got exactly what I wanted, the way I wanted, and I'm happy. And that's all that matters. So we need to make sure that we communicate with people and find out what's important to them, not assume that everybody, because when my friend said all that, it actually like offended us. Like it really kind of bothered me when she said all that because she was not in our headspace. So I think it's really important that we take a step back and uncover their needs and what it is that they're trying to accomplish and be really, really mindful of that. Everybody's got a different set of values and what they want to go through and what, they're up for the challenge for. So again, we're going to uncover those needs. We're going to go through our pricing tools. So you're going to go through those pricing tools, and then you're going to review the roles and expectations for that partnership and always asking, is that agreeable? This is a big one, confidentiality. I never used to tell people that everything was confidential, but a professional does. And it's important. And especially when people are like, oh, my friend didn't list with me because, they didn't want me to know their business. All that means is, because you don't really end up knowing that much about people, all you know is how much money they're going to earn on the sale of their house, which is all in the public records anyway after a sale. Really, they want to make sure that you're going to keep everything in confidence. So make sure you figure out how you're going to say, hey, I just, before we move forward, I want, you to be rest assured that everything that we discuss here tonight is completely in confidence. So reassure people it's the professional thing to do. And then you're going to move into your pricing stuff. So you go through that. You have all your sellers' needs. So just write down what they say. Let's get focused on what's important to you. Ask them those questions, write it down, stay in curiosity. Make sure that all of your goals, plans, and strategies refer back to what's really important to them. It's also great notes for when you're doing your weekly checkups, that you're kind of reminding them, keeping their eye on the prize, which right now we might not have weekly checkups because homes might be selling in less than a week, but that might not always be the case, as we said before. So when you're talking about pricing, remember that it's all about justification. So when we price a house, we have to be able to justify it 2 more times. We have to justify it to the buyers and we have to justify it to an appraiser if it's not a cash deal. The only way we can justify pricing is by having comps that support that. Now, I know right now it may be a challenge and you may need to ask for help in your pricing and get other people's opinions, because when we have an upward ticking market like this, if people are paying above and not doing, covering appraisal gaps, things can get a little bit squirrely. So I wouldn't feel bad telling someone, listen, the market's really fluid right now, and we are seeing people pay 110%, 105%. We're also seeing 99%. It's kind of all over the board. So definitely slow down if you need to, slow down that pricing and let them know, hey, I'm going to get a couple of other opinions. Things have been moving a little bit crazy right now, because you don't want to have an expectation that they're going to